r/AskReddit. What horrid secrets do your parents have? And are oblivious to you being aware of? My dad used to talk about growing up really poor, having to get food from food banks, etc. It's one of the reasons that, now that he owns his own business, he donates to food banks and all sorts of charities all the time, paying it back. Well, it turns out that my father's father owned a massive construction company and made millions of dollars in the 50s and 60s. My uncle was selling massive amounts of cocaine and got busted. My grandfather bankrupted himself paying off judges and lawyers and all that to keep my uncle out of jail for most of his life. That's why my dad grew up with nothing. He has no idea that I know. Seriously, sounds like an Arrested Development style story. Glad your dad ended up alright. Narrator, it was. My parents got engaged after a drug-fueled 11-day bender in 1979. Firstborn came along in 82. Still married. Isn't that a rather awesome story? This has Hallmark Channel movie written all over it.
Claim your free AirPods today by clicking the first link in the description down below.
I went to my parents' room to wake them up to drop me off to school. I saw them out cold lying naked with a toy on the edge of the bed. I was 15. Well, which one of you toys is going to take me to school? The one on the edge of the bed. My mom had to do some soul searching for AA. She wrote a list called Life Resentments, and having kids was the first bullet point. Found it while I was looking for my social security card to apply for my first job at 16. She kept it in a safe. I'm so sorry that you read that. The people in recovery with AA have to be brutally honest with their sponsor in all they do, and that includes admitting stuff that they hate to admit. I'm not in AA, but if I were to make a list like that I would probably have to write having a kid too. I love my kid more than anything, but it's one of the things I resent myself with daily and will have to face eventually. Don't know how long ago this was for you, but please don't take it personally. However she feels about having you or not. I guarantee you are one of the top reasons for her taking the initiative to get help through AA in the first place. And that she loves you with all her heart. Thank you for your kind words. Reading that sent me into a frenzy trying to prove myself to her and then fueled my resentment for her and her drinking. It's been a roller coaster 5 years since I've read that, but it's helped me be a better person by recognizing and letting go of my own resentments. Thanks again for reaching out. My mom found out my dad was cheating on her when she got herpes. My dad thought I was being a typical moody teenager for years before he found out that's why I was mad at him. Edit. For those asking if it was just dormant. It wasn't. There were others. Both parents did bad things. We've resolved our feelings about it all. And I don't need anybody's pity for things that happened 25 years ago. Found out my parents have had herpes since the 80s due to my dad cheating. My nauseous sister worked at the pharmacy they use. So she looked up their records and saw their maintenance meds and then proceeded to ask my mom about it. But my mom doesn't know that I know. And my dad sure as hell doesn't know that either of us know. Edit. Holy hit, I did not expect this to blow up. A couple of things to add. 1. Yes. I'm aware that what my sister did is illegal. Unfortunately for everyone, she no longer works for a pharmacy. And 2. I know that it was my dad who cheated, not my mom. Because he openly cheated for the first 10-ish years of their marriage and they both openly speak about it. If your sister likes having a job in the medical field at all, she should be careful that it gets audited, and HIPAA is no joke. My dad doesn't know that I found paperwork of his from when he got discharged from the military and diagnosed with borderline personality disorder with narcissistic features. Everything about his behavior suddenly made sense, but there was literally no way to bring it up to him without making him extremely more defensive or shutting down on me. It did give me peace of mind, though, and helped me work through a lot of trauma on my end after years of emotional gaslighting. Edit. My father also suffers from Munchausen syndrome, a disorder in which a person pretends they are sick with multiple illnesses and will even go as far as to have surgeries they don't need in order to garner sympathy and attention. This is usually done because of extreme childhood abuse and neglect. He's pretended to have cancer, epilepsy/seizures, a blood clotting disorder, etc. Over the years, alas, he's still alive and would walk with a cane whenever we went out that magically disappeared at home. I now realize this ties into his BPD and narcissism as a form of coping. It doesn't make it right. But again, I've come to understand him a lot more these last few years because of it and heal myself. It's highly suspected my teenage daughter is this, but no one will throw that diagnosis on someone till they are 18. I love her, but she has nearly torn my family apart with the lies and behavior. It's a constant battle trying to keep her from destroying herself and taking others with her. Next year she will be in high school and that kind of freedom for her terrifies me. I'm more scared what she will do to someone else's life than her own. Edit. Thank you everyone. Feels nice to vent every once in a while. How does one go about getting diagnosed with BPD? My dad died when I was 14 and everyone refused to speak of it. My grandparents said he fell down the stairs, and they've maintained that to this day. My mom told me that he accidentally hung himself, and she'd tell me when I was older. It took 9th grade me all of about 3 days to figure out he had died of autoerotic asphyxiation. She confirmed it years later. My 15-year-old brother did this when I was 8. I think I was about his age when I learned what had actually happened. Was able to stop a couple of my high school buddies from doing the same by telling them the story. Holy hit. Is it that prevalent? I thought it was a one-off kind of thing. But maybe I need to make sure I talk to my kids about it when they get to that age. Great. My biological dad died when I was 2. Car accident going to his next duty station. And not too long ago I got a box of letters he had sent my aunt, uncle and his parents. Since he died when I was so young, I didn't really know him that well. But this treasure trove of letters gave me some real insight into who he was. It was a lot of letters from the time he was in the Navy, before he married my mom, all the way up to not long before he died. In one set of letters he discusses with my grandparents how he and my mom aren't getting along. He mentions that they might get a divorce, but he wanted their help in getting custody of me. I think mostly because my mom was born and raised in Ireland and not yet a true citizen of the US, so he was afraid he'd never see me again if I went with her. Apparently she was fine with him taking me. They reconciled. But it's interesting to know that she would have given me up and I'd have grown up in LA instead of with her. Ultimately on the east coast of the US. It's amazing that you got to know him through the letters though. I hope you take away the fact that he obviously loved you if he wanted custody of you. I hope you are able to reach out to his side of the family to get to know more of him. One year my family went on vacation where I took a lot of pictures using my dad's phone and I wanted to put them on my computer so I could share them with friends. I grabbed his phone and started looking through his photos looking for my vacation photos when I came across my dad and mom's ex-tape, nudes, etc. I never told them I found it, nor do I go back on his phone because I don't want to see those ever again. I was fixing my dad's laptop a while later and my mom kept hovering over my shoulder telling me not to snoop through his files and don't go on anything except for what I needed to. I knew what she was hiding, but I wasn't going to tell her. This gives me a good idea. When my kids are older and fixing my stuff, I'll tell them not to go through my files unless they want to see me naked. I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. My mom tried to manipulate her family and my dad's family into believing that my dad was an abuser and didn't care for his family, which I knew was bullshit cause my mom was the insane one and would hit my brother and I and break it around the house. My dad is the best man I know. When I got older my dad told me the truth about the divorce and it was cause my mom became a stripper and was cheating on him with men she met at the club. It was even more confirmed when my dad showed me the divorce documents, and when I went to visit my dad's side of the family I saw pictures where it was obvious my mom was ripped out of, and the stories my aunts told me about her. My dad is a Catholic and said because of that he tried to keep the family together through all of that cause he doesn't believe in divorce. But my mom begged so she can run away with some man. After a while my dad let it happen, and not long after my mom was on her knees begging to get back together. He said no. And that was that. My dad is the most honorable, caring, and intelligent human being. Always treated me with so much love and respect. He was in the US military for 21 years. Retired and became a Spanish teacher. Retired last year and moved back to Colombia. My mom tried to guilt trip him into staying, claiming that he was walking out on my brother and I. I'm 21 and my brother is 26. We each have our own jobs and apartments. We told my dad that we wanted him to go and be happy. And of course he went. Who was the one that was there for us when we were crying begging for our mom while you were out ducking other men? So in conclusion, my dad is the bomb, and I'm actually going to Colombia at the end of this week to see him for the first time 8 months. Edit. Thank you all for all of your kind and encouraging comments. I'm gonna pass on the messages when I see him. He's gonna feel very proud and happy with everything you guys have said. He definitely deserves the recognition. Your father sounds absolutely wonderful. I hope you've taken more lessons from him than you have your mother. I have for sure. He's definitely my biggest role model. Well, my father sends me letters from prison assuming I haven't heard the phone recordings where he admits to child rape. I burn everything he sends me. Also, I corroborated several claims against him when interviewed by the detective. Best friend in HS testified against her dad for similar charges. It takes quite the toll. Don't know if it's horrid, but when helping my mother move from one house to another, I happened across her bag of X toys. Which isn't all that shocking. But it included a strap-on toy. The bag was open, and it was on top. She'd been a single woman for 20+ years, and was in her late 50s at the time. I had no idea who she was using it with, nor do I want to know. If it's any help, strap-ons can be used to wrap them around pillows, so you can ride them. For a woman with a bag of X toys, that doesn't seem too far of a stretch. Today I learned, tonight I try. Edit. Update. It is awesome. I can see why she was single for 20+ years. I know my dad cheated on my mom several times using AIM/AOL. How 90s is that? He would talk with women online and never mention how he was married or that he had 2 children. When my mom was out at work or asleep, he would call these women up and flirt, have phone sex, etc. He would make excuses as to why he couldn't meet with them, but continue to pretend like he was super into them and really did want to meet them. I only put it together later once I remembered coming into my dad's office while he was working and seeing nothing but AIM/chat rooms with women's names. There were a couple times I woke up at night and heard him talking to someone in a hushed voice in our kitchen, and I knew my mom wasn't up. The real clincher was when I started to walk downstairs while my parents were arguing. My mom shouted, "You don't even have X with me. You're so much more interested in playing games, talking to women online, and pretending like your children and I don't ducking exist." I heard a pause, and then he tried to play dumb. To which she responded, "Don't lie to me. I see the phone records. I called one of them, and she told me everything." I have never so promptly turned around, went back to my room, and pretended to be fascinated by Mr. Potato Head so fast in my life. Mom never talked about it or let on that it happened. Neither of them had any idea I overheard them or put the pieces together. I've never told my brother. Edited to @ they are no longer together. They got divorced shortly after when my mom found out that while she had been working 3 jobs, he had been sitting at home, not doing anything to find a job, racking up a ton of debt, and secretly bought himself a motorcycle which he kept in a storage unit away from home. She came home early, grabbed the mail before he could, saw the debt notices, then opened the garage and found a shiny motorcycle sitting there. He hadn't had time to return it to the storage unit because he wasn't thinking she'd come home early. That was that. I have never so promptly turned around, went back to my room, and pretended to be fascinated by Mr. Potato Head so fast in my life. God, have I had these moments in my life. Lol. Reading this is re-traumatizing. My dad is now with the woman he was cheating on my mom with before she died from cancer. Edit. No. My father is not named Newt, nor goes by Dr. Point Seuss. Similar story here. But mom is still around and okay. Stepmom preaches about how godly she is, and how we should all emulate her behavior, yet she was the one carrying on an affair with her friend's husband for years, before, during, and after while the friend, my mom, was pregnant with me. It got so bad. My dad's family wrote him off too, and stayed very close with my mom until they passed. Kudos to your dad's parents. That's an admirable and really nice thing to do.